Hello and welcome to another webinar session, guys. Thank you for taking time and joining us for today's webinar. My name is Abhishek and I am part of the marketing and sales team at Factana. So in this webinar, we are focusing on IT-OT integration for digital transformation and talk about the challenges in current OT setup. And then we will be talking about the architecture solution for IT-OT integration, role of industrial IT in digital journey, and taking a look at the value-driven strategy model and the sample roadmap for digital manufacturing recommendation. So this webinar will be presented by Mr. Hariharan, founder and chief at Factana. So without wasting further time, let's jump into the webinar. So Hari, over to you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning if you are connecting from western part. So this is one of the interesting topic for me as well as we are going through the digital transformation, especially as a company. We are focusing more on helping manufacturing companies to transform into the digital world, and this is one of the critical concern that exists across manufacturing and production-based business operation companies, where they have a challenge in connecting to the machines and getting data out, and then look at a value out of that. So that's very interesting to address this kind of issues. And today we will explore on what could be the challenge and what is concerning the integration between the operation technology and IT systems, and how we can address it with the help of different approach on this. So before we get into the challenge and how we can address this, we should have a common understanding about IT/OT, right? What is IT/OT means? So according to Gartner, IT is information technology. OT means operational technologies. Gartner states that there are challenges in this space, and this is due to separation of operating model as well as the technologies that has been implemented with a different objective at the different sectors within the business, and also lack of integrated process or information flow goals that leads into silos of business operations, business technologies. So that means the technology that used by IT versus operational team are completely different and doesn't come with any synchronous approach on that. So that's what IT/OT integration means. We need to bridge this, solve this problem by bridging the two technologies, and how we can address it. So one of the understanding part, right? So we need to understand what is IT and OT means, what it means that, and what other things are there, right? So as Gartner said, the primary problem or technology as well as the authority or the ownership on that, as typically business operates in a two different way or two different group. The top layer or the top floor executives and business executives focusing on the more on the sales, marketing, finance, HR, procurement, those kind of process, purchase and those kind of process. Whereas and they use a different technologies like e-commerce systems, ERP system, CRMs, and many other business-friendly applications for overall. The intention of those systems and operation are more into the revenue, finance, and how we can run a business profitably, right? But the underlying activities happening on the production level, which is called as the operational technologies, are more focused towards delivery oriented, like designing products and production of the product. How do we maintain those machineries that being used for production? How we handle with the supply information, warehouse storing, quality controls. Those are the operational focused groups, which are very intended to work on the delivery focused aspect of that. And the technology tools that the systems they are using are completely different, or they're all more intended towards automation aspect of that. Machines, controllers, PLC SCADA systems, programming systems, sensors. The data that they aggregate are very specific to the operational information aspect of that. and then the repository they maintain is localized. The logging, the registries and logging they maintain is localized. So it's more localized operating model, where it is more hardware intensive systems and processes built around the production and delivery. So so looking at this, connecting these two things is what we call as a IT/OT integration. And today it is happening. It's not that it is not happening. It is happening, but it is more manual human effort or human intentionally creating those kind of data movement. Example, when the order comes into the sales system or ERP or CRM systems, that order has to be converted as a work order in the back office, and then that has to be sent to the operational team, and they have to plan the production based on the work orders. So this requires a manual or kind of human intervention in terms of converting these kind of orders into your backend systems. Similarly, the sales and marketing may not have the visibility in terms of the production capacity, the current production status, and what kind of work order that they can deliver faster, and are those kind of operational challenges they may not aware of, that the sales is more focused on the sales or marketing and those aspects of that. So there is a gap on this in the way. So when we're talking about the digital transformation in industry, of course the digital transformation or digitalization is involved in both side of the organization, the entire organization, right? To convert them into more digital users. And then why we have to convert them to the digital users, because they produce more information, more accuracy, and more visibility into the process, and that helps the organization to drive the business towards the right direction, right? That's the value of the digitalization. So the challenge here is, how do we bridge these two different set of technologies together to make the holistic digital transformation approach. So when talking about that, the key things that we need to understand is the challenge first, right? What is the challenge in this? Yeah, of course, the technology is one challenge, but what are the other challenges are there, right? It has been identified that there are three kind of challenges that we can, our group of challenges we can put together. One is, of course, we know the technology, which is more like a 60% of the challenge in transforming any current production or manufacturing based business into digital, is on the technology side, in terms of the machineries that they use, in terms of the automation process that they created, which are very intended to specific scope, smaller scope, specific reasons, and also the vendor specific technologies, because the controllers created by some vendor, the automation process created by some vendor, the data stored in some other systems. So all of that are very narrowed down to vendor specific, IP protocol specific, as well as the mission specific, right? They're all the technology challenges that are there, because it's a continuous growth of the business. They have adopted different technologies at a different time. So not all machines are equal, not all machines are equally equipped to share the information on that, which we have been seeing in every conversation that we are talking to customers. This is the most common challenge that we are seeing across all different size of business that we have discussed with. And on the operational side, second major challenge is on the operational side in terms of focus, right? The operational team, or the group of plant production focused group, and the members of the groups are very focused towards what they are doing on day-to-day basis. And of course they are all in high pressure to deliver things, and they have to work on significantly rapidly on making the production going and on time. So obviously they don't have a time to look at the overall organizational aspect of that. They are looking at the lowest budget possible, and of course they are all more operational team. They may not have a knowledge and experience, exposure to the top floor technologies, or the technology or process that being used at the sales front, or financial aspect of that. So because of that lack of visibility, lack of capability on those broader aspect, and they're all working on very location specific requirements as that. So that's also a challenge, right? Because everybody has a different knowledge and experience at the different locations of the plant or business operation centers. So consolidating them is a challenge, because not everyone is equal and everything is equal. So we need to bring some bridge on that. The third one is the ownership in terms of who owns the data, or who owns the digital technologies. whether it's owned by IT or it's owned by operational team, and who owns this whole process and governance around that. That itself is a lack of visibility or clarity in the organization level, because it's a new area of focus and it's required more broader goals and other things. So ownership is right now very localized, very specific to the unit, production unit, very specific to the plant, or very specific to the locations, regions. And of course, there are a lot of concerns in terms of the data security, or how they can get access to remote places, all the stuff. So all of them are the three kind of challenges that we have identified over our experience in talking to different manufacturing and industrial sectors. But the key thing that we need to take up, right? We cannot address everything at the same time, right? We need to go with more of strategical approach on addressing this. Key things that we need to take away from this particular challenges identification. The number one is a smaller focus operational improvement. So more focused on look at the broader vision, but a focus on a step by step, region by region, incrementally improving the overall challenges. Lack of data standard is the other big challenge, right? Because every business unit, every system that they have implemented on the plant level for the automation process, are very structured, very specific built purpose. So cannot bring a standard across that. So we need to create some kind of a standard, and that has to be followed on the future implementations or future installation or automation projects. So that kind of a standards and governance to be addressed, right? That's the biggest challenge, lack of that. And then local specific process, right? The particular production unit which is using boiler has a different need. CNC machine users have a different need, and depending upon the product, that variety of product that they make, the different need, different process, different controls. So bringing and they are all made for localized, right, specific purpose. And how do we connect all of them to the organizational visibility aspect of that, from the digital journey aspect of that, and how do we provide those informations, extract those information, provide those information to the top floor to take a more active decisions on the process or the organizational improvement. So those areas, we need to address it. So the key three things we need to address as a primary aspect are candidates that we should address it to solve this problem. But in terms of the priorities, right? Because when we're talking about technology challenges, we also need to talk about the operational challenges, right? What is the priorities? Why it is happening like this, right? So the priorities are different, of course. Information technology priorities versus operational team priorities are different. Of course, they are all working on their business, excellent work in their business, but at the same time, they are not like a unified way of looking at that, right? So one of the key thing is like, information technology is more sales, finance focused, focused business model or operational model. Whereas in operating team is more production, as I said, more production and delivery oriented. Information stored on in a two separate location at a two different aspect of that. So the data is not shared among them, and the data is silo sitting in the different department by itself. The information technology is more knowledgeable and aware of the data and related storing process than the operational team, because they are all more machine operators and machine process control operators. So there is a lack of understanding in terms of the importance of the data that's being produced by the machines versus the data produced by the IT systems. And the process is completely different. Business applications follow this business process model, whereas in operating teams follow the system operating procedures. And it's a two different operating model and process, and they have a challenge as well, right, in terms of unifying that. And the last point is on the what the value of the data, right? How we are leveraging the data. So usually the information technology, because of the knowledge and exposure, so they are creating business systems or business intelligence systems that can provide a more very strong business operating reports to the top management or decision makers to make a decision on that. At the same time, of course, the operation team also producing the data. They are also looking at the analytics, but their analytics is more specific to the mission and its process and its maintenance aspect of that, right? It is not directly connected to the how that will impact to the business and overall financial status of the organization, right? It's not connected with that, and there is a lack of visibility in terms of the level that they are looking at. So the priorities are different, so they are all operating in a different way. So what we have to address that is overall, like by looking at the challenge, we need to address the technology challenge. We need to also address the business side of operating challenges or operating models itself, to create a unified business operational model and data sharing strategy to derive the value out of the data to take a business instance, and that also should be accessible quickly, faster through the digital technologies. And that's all about how we are going to convert that. So what we are looking at, so we know that, right? So we have a set of systems are there. We have in IT systems, and we have set of systems and process functions on the operational technology. So we all know that integration means it's a data that we have to exchange between that. The process has to be integrated, the data has to be integrated and available at both sides. So when the order is getting created in the sales system, so that can give a pipeline information to the operational team, so that they can proactively work on increasing their resource size, increasing the capacity of the missions, or something like that, right? So if they don't have that visibility, then may not take a decision quickly, rapidly to deliver the orders to customers on time, right? So the information availability is very important, that flow from information technology systems to the operational technology systems or operational systems. Vice versa, the operational systems, right, when they are production, when they start the production, when they're operating on the productions, the work order production, work order progress, the mission conditions, the number of missions availability, right, and the production rate, run rate, the lead time of a particular product and items. So those information has to flow back into the information technology team for them to predict the timeline of delivery, because we don't want them to go, the sales team go and give a delivery timeline, say that this particular product will be delivered in 2 weeks time, whereas the production team has a challenge in delivering in 2 weeks time, right? And this is a gap that we are seeing and this is a challenge that the top management wants to address it, but at the same time it's not it requires a lot of transformations on that, right, in the overall organization level. So the data integration is critical here, and simply as put it together, right, we need to have a seamless data integration. When we're talking about data integration, we're also talking about data standardization, because we saw one of the challenges that information technology product systems creating a different structure of data, and then the operational technology is producing different set of data, and these data are not standardized. It's all on their localized structure, right, format. So that has to be standardized as well. So the data standardization is very important, and also the integration is important to seamlessly exchanging the data between the two departments or two unit of the business. Now let's talk about a little more deeper, right, in terms of the breaking down the integration piece, right, the data integration piece. Just going a little drill down into that and see what is there and what is required there, right? So one of the challenges, the information technology or IT team sits on a different location, probably in the headquarters, where the business stakeholders are residing, and on the operational technologies are more on the plant level, and which are maybe in remote places, maybe in distributed in multiple regions for different plant and purpose, right? So of course, it's all not may or may not be connected internally to the network. So obviously it has to go through a challenge. And also the business system and related data integration require a different set of integration services, which we call it as application integration services. Whereas in manufacturing side or the production side, the production machineries and related instruments, process controls that are operating in a different protocols and technologies that require a different characteristic integration, which we call as a machine integration. Just to put it as a machine integration services. So both are two different purpose, two different objective of integration, but they have to collaborate each other, right? So that goes through, of course, in the way that we are looking at it, so has to go through the exchange through the internet protocols, either private internet or public internet, whatever it is, which can be a different topic to talk about. So that's required a two different set of integration features or integration functions. So especially on the machine integration, right? So machine automations, today the automation is there, the integration is done within the machine itself. When a particular roller is working on the different speed and things, can be controlled by a controller, and can be controlled by other machines with the help of machine to machine communication and localized network and machine protocols and things like that. So it is a different set of challenges to address it, but that should be a glue that connecting all these different variety of systems, such as controllers, PLC or SCADA systems, or maybe even with the help of retrofit sensors to measure the information from the production floor. So we need to have a different set of protocol to address that. Now, we understand that that should be a holistic approach. We understand that there is a different characteristic required to connecting the IT systems. There is a different set of protocol supports required to address the machineries and in the plant level. And this is exactly where we need to have some kind of a system that addressing this, so both together, right? And this is where the industry going towards adapting towards the industrial IoT platform. So what is industrial IoT platform? We know IoT platform. What is industrial IoT platform? IoT platform means it's connecting to the machineries. Any things can be connected to extract the data. The fundamental purpose of IoT solution is to collect the data, right? So that's the fundamental purpose. We need to collect the data. Then we can take a decision on the data, on how to use the data. Either it may be a process data, it may be a status data, or it may be a production data. It can be any kind of data that we need to collect from the things, which has a specific protocols to support to connect with, right? And then it should have certain additional parameters and capability to address the holistic approach, because it's not just IoT is purpose of collecting the data, but industrial IoT has additional characteristic that's specific to the industrial use cases to address little broader aspect of that, as we have seen that, right? What is required for IT-OT integration? We need a solid system that can handle that can handle the communication with the business systems, IT systems, and also talk to the machineries, right? And we need that kind of a system. So both capability has to be there in a single platform. It's much better to have it in a single platform, and that's where the industrial IoT platform or industrial IoT solutions are coming into picture. So if you break down into the industrial IoT systems, what are the things that we should have to address the IT-OT integration challenges? Number one, about machine connectivities. It's all about connecting to the things or machineries. And of course, in the industry, there are different protocols are used for different purpose of machineries, right? The most common one is the Modbus protocol used by machines to communicate and provide the data out, or maybe communicate to other machines through M2M model. The Ethernet-based connectivity is helping us to extract the data in any format. It could be in binary format, it could be in different type of data format. OPC UA is becoming one of the stronger player in this space to talk about to address that machine-to-machine communication and machine-to IoT or cloud communications. We'll talk about that last. CoAP and Profi Net or MT Connects are different protocols implemented by different device and network providers using different technologies. But at the end of the day, as a platform, as our IoT solution, when you talk about IoT solution, that should support to connect to all different protocols, or should be able to communicate to those devices using a different protocols. That requires a connectivity, right? The machine connectivity or connectors that connecting to that and talk on the protocol language. OPC is one of the upcoming standard, because every systems having a different communication protocols is a challenge, a real challenge in terms of how the data can be shared from the machines to the top floor, right? Or from vice versa, also from top floor to the machines, right? How we can exchange the data, right? it is a challenge because of the different protocols. So OPC UA is coming up with a standard protocol that can become, yes, because it's a different format on followed so far. So the OPC UA is bringing a structured, data structured communication protocol that supports to exchange information regardless of the technology being used in the machine level as well as in the system level, in the operational system level, or in the business system level. That's one of the key things that do that. But still, the challenge is that how do we use the existing machine to communicate? Existing machine. Oh, I have a machine which implemented 20 years back, and that can communicate in Modbus only, or that can communicate only in MT Connect. It may be MT Connect, or it may be some other data. Worst case, it has a sensors, or it doesn't have sensors. It's just a manual system mission. I wanted to collect the data. So maybe we have to put the sensors on that, the retrofit sensors, the sensors that we fit into the missions to sense the different checkpoints to collect the data. So we may have to explicitly fit sensors to read the data from that. And the sensors could communicate in a binary data or different type of data formats. So all this data has to be collected by the connectivity service or service that's fit and connected to the machineries. That's on the edge connecting or the connectivity services. And then on the platform side, of course, we are deploying devices to connect to machines to collect the data. So device management is one of the key functions should be there. Then data standard has to be followed, should be there in the industrial IoT platform to uniform that, because we saw that, right? One of the IT OT challenges is that the data created by IT system versus operating technologies are different, and that has to be standardized. And then the data security, storage, those kind of features should address that. Now, one of the key thing is the rules, right? How we process the data, how we store the data, what conditions we need to check from the data integrity standpoint, and how we present those data to the users with the help of Analytics Studio and visualizations. So all those characters has to be there when we're talking about industrial IoT platform, which is a comprehensive way of looking at the solution. And then in terms of the cloud connectivity, right? So in terms of our cloud or maybe application on premise application, either it's a ERP, CRM, or financial systems, how do we deliver the data, the operating data to those systems with the help of connectors? At the same time, how do we read the data from those systems and then convert that? Let's say example, when sales is placed and order is placed in the sales systems, how do we get the data, convert that into a work order, job order, and then how do we promote those job orders to the manufacturing operating systems or operation management system? So how do we deliver that to those systems so that the production manager can plan and execute those jobs in the plant, right? So how do we deliver that data? So the both side has to be communicated, and both side has to have a different need of protocols and communication and different one. But the standardization has to be owned and controlled by the platform. So that's a comprehensive IoT solution, industrial IoT solution that should address the need of IT OT integration. Okay, now we saw that on a high level, yes, this is all required to address the IT OT. But what about other challenges that we talked about, right? What about the operational challenges? What about the ownership challenges, right? How do we address this? Technology is one thing, yeah. Industrial IoT system solve the technology problem, but what about the other problems and how do we solve that? So for that, we should have a common process or common forum, right? So as we saw that IT team is focusing on certain objective, and their roles and responses are different. Whereas in the operational technology side, they have a different roles and responsibility. And of course, business has to be running, right? We cannot drop everything and then go into syncing these two departments, right? It has to be operate independently, right? At the same time, we should have some kind of a governance on top of that. That governance is process as or educating them and making them to collaborate, right? That governance process is, we call it as a center of excellence program. That program has to execute that governance into the organization level by unifying the IT operating model or operation teams, as well as the OT operation team. So they has to work together to drive the digitalization, right? So for that, the very first step has to be done is the goal. what is the objective of the digital transformation, and what is the objective of the business to get into the digital world, and what they wanted to drive out of that. That has to be a clear vision, and this should be driven by the top management. The top management has to have that, okay, this is our business goal, and this is where we have to go, and to go there we have to change ourselves into that. As competing with our competitors, we have to bring more technology, we have to give more visibility to our customers, we have to introduce more products, we need more visibility in terms of our operational efficiency, we need more metrics to understand where we stand and where we can improve. So all of them has to be digitalized and available to anytime to the top management or decision makers to make a decisions faster. So all those goals has to be defined as part of the organization goal. Once the organization goal is defined, and that should be the basic principle for the center of excellence team, that the team should take that should be a combination of IT/OT people to participate on that in the COE, and they will drive the set of initiatives or projects that requires to deliver or transform the business into the digital world, and that execute into a roadmap, right? Once they have a clear vision and they try to put all those transformation steps, the steps that require to execute, the projects that's required to execute as a roadmap, right? They have to define that roadmap clearly. And then they should also be technology, because there is other challenge that they have a lack of technology knowledge, right? And both has a different technology. IT people may not understand the technology used on the plant level, mission level technologies. Mission level operators may not understand what is being followed in the IT level. So that has to be synchronized. So that cross training capability development has to be there before we stepping into the actual projects. So this gives is leveling the skill set, capability, and understanding about the need of the digital transformation and the business objective and how we can drive that, right? And of course, identifying the common tools and technologies part of this exercise to identify what kind of a tools and technology that I can use it. That includes this data standardization, that includes the tools or platform selection, that includes what capabilities required from the overall objective in transforming that, from the digital aspect of that, from the automation aspect of that, from the process visibility aspect of that. So all of them has to be considered as part of the tool identification. And finally, once we have drafted that project and roadmap plans, then the project execution go into that. Of course, it's not a project that start and end. It's a continuous improvement opportunity, right? Everything cannot be done like one single day, right? The operation has to happen. We continue to deliver the products to customers. We continue to roll out our products to the market, and we have to continue to drive the business to the growth. At the same time, we have to transform internally to adapt the newer technology and taking decisions faster. So that means we need to have an internally proper, well-defined project execution plan, and that should be a continuous execution, right? It cannot be like a big bang approach. It has to be like a incremental approach. It has to be incremental approach to change that with a larger goal and objective of the digitalization. So then the product release plan, it has to go like a build, so plan, build, test, and then release it. Not just releasing it, but measuring the output of that, measuring the ROI of that, and then identifying that what needs to be corrected in the next course of cycle, and then driving that. So it is a continuous incremental maturity level rather than it's a big bang approach or one rollout approach. So while talking about the technology, IoT, the project strategy on how we create a COE, we also must talk about the data and governance, because end of the day, everything is to collect the data and take a decision out of the data, identify the intelligence, actionable items on that, insights on that, and then take it decisions faster. The purpose of going into digital world is to take decisions faster. We are living in a faster world. We need everything has to happen instantly, and that's the way that customer also expecting, and that's the way that we are also expecting, right, as individuals. So everything has to be fast acting, faster responsive acting on that. That's the purpose of driving that. The world is moving towards the digital, right? Every sector is moving towards the digital. But the fundamental thing on the digital is the data, right? Data has to be available to take such decisions and deliver that to the users at the right time. But the data has to be structured properly, right? As we say that IT following different model, OT following different model. And if there is no unification, it is highly complex to merge the data to identify the holistic view of the overall operation, right? So we need to consider that. So data is an asset today. Data has to be protected. Like how our physically we are protecting the machines or systems, we have to protect the data also. We have to consider that data as an asset, and then using that asset, how we can derive the value out of that. That's the key things that we need to drive as part of the digitalization. So to consider the data governance, right? So there are different things are there on the data governance. It has to be structured, organized. There should be a set of policies to say that what kind of a data and how we handle different data, what is the role of operational data, and where and when we can share the data, and what kind of categorizing the data, like a different product data, customer data, and different things, and using those data to merging and then finding this data and collecting the data and massaging the data to identify the data insights on that. Of course, it's involved people, process, and technology. People has to adapt this technology, this data, follow the data process and governance. The process has to be enforced from the data handling aspect of that. The technology should be supporting to handle the data standardization and data governance aspect of that. So having a very well defined goal at the data level is very, very important. Rather than talking about high level technology, we have to have a specific goals and compliances definitions for the data itself. So data is the key, data is asset, and we need to have that well defined goals on that. Structuring the communication between the systems. Every system communication has to be structured in such a way that it helps to uniformly communicate and share the information to any distributed systems, increasing the value and then leveraging the data to take a decision on that, right? So all of them are the key things that we should address, and that's how we need to protect the data and govern the data as part of that. So when talking about digitalization, it's in a manufacturing setup or any industry, we are talking about two different hat on that. One, the communication, collecting the system and technologies that we use to do the digital experience. Other side is the data that serving that purpose, right? So both has to be properly aligned together to deliver the full value of the digitalization. So to give the idea, right now, how do we approach this IT/OT integration? How do we from my current state of my manufacturing setup or my business setup, how I can go into digitalization, how I can solve my IT/OT problems, IT/OT integration challenges, how I can arrive the data, how I can collect the data, how I can do that, right? So this has to be where do we start it? How do we start it? How do we go step by step? So this diagram, this is sample model. This vary from company to company, depending upon the business goals and process. As I said, the COE, how we are defining the goals. But generally, this applicable to all the digital transformation journey, but very specific to the IT/OT aspect of that today. So very step one is to make that systems connected. The fundamental thing is just connect to the systems. The systems talking about the system that in IT, the system that are in the OT, right? The technology being used at the plant level. How do we connect to those machineries? Either through existing PLC SCADA system that has a historic data, or the data that can that are aggregated at the controller level, that we can, or data aggregator machine level, which can be collected, right? And gathering that at the real time, right? So we have to connect that. Or if there is no such things, it's all manual operation or machineries or legacy machineries, there is no controller, there is no process. So but we still need to collect the data, right? That means we need to fit the sensors into that and then collecting the data. So end of the day, every asset in the organization, the machineries and the system assets, that has to be connected to understand how those assets are working and what kind of a data that can produce. So connecting to the operational technology systems and gathering the data is the step one, regardless of that. And we may go on the incremental way also, right, in that. So you may take a particular set of assets and you may do the all level 5 that we are talking here, and then you can go to the next set of assets, and then you can repeat this cycle. But it has to go on a cycle, right? So connecting to the OT systems, gathering the data is a level 1. Level 2 is on the process identification, right? So once you have collected the data, if you try to put together the data, you may get a visibility of, or you will get a visibility of the process. What is a step 1 in the production, what is step 2 in the production, step 3 in the production, step 4 in the production. If you line up all those assets, connected asset, you will know that what each and every asset is playing on the production process, and you can have a clear visibility where and how my systems, my assets are involved in the production process. And that gives the process identification and visibility to the organization level, right? Once it's connected, the people who can subscribe to the data, they can come and look at those data, right? And they can understand the process also, how my is the overall process. Instead of going through the documents, they can real time understand the process. Then the process is, now once you have the visibility into the process, you may have an option to control the process. You may enforce certain kind of automation process to improve your operational efficiency. That itself is the next step for that. So that's the level 2. Level 3 is all about, once you collected the process, once you identify the process, how the process works, how the systems are creating data, using those data, you can arrive a metrics, right? Such as OE metrics or maintenance metrics or any operational metrics, right? Operational performance metrics that you can arrive at. These metrics are analytics, right? And these analytics gives a visibility in terms of what is my efficiency level, right? In terms of my efficiency level, in terms of my maintenance, if challenges, in terms of my frequency of maintenance, my investment cost, how much I'm burning, all the stuff, right? They're all, it can be collected on that. That's a level 3, right? Based on that reports, right, you have a better visibility in terms of the overall production efficiency, overall performance, and help you to plan your order and delivery process at the IT level, right? IT can plan and deliver the process. Vice versa, when the order is getting created in that and that data flows through the OT systems, that also helps the OT system to plan and execute the production efficiently or properly, right? If they have to increase another shift, they have to increase another shift because of the workload, right? And that has to be planned ahead of time rather than last minute, right? And that has to be seamlessly executing. There are a lot of headaches in those areas in day-to-day life, and this should be minimized with the help of these technologies. So the fourth and fifth level are, is going to take the organization to a different level completely, right? Once you have achieved their data analytics, once you have the visibility into the process, you have visibility into the OE metrics, then next one is all about, how do we predict it, right? Of course, I know that real time I'm getting the information, how my production is operating, my performance of the production, how much product I'm producing per day, how much my quality standard is there. I know all of them, right? Now, based on my history of information, can I predict it? What will be my next month? What will be my 6 months down the line? So the prediction is possible with the help of the advanced technology such as machine learning and other things. Then going into the conditions, right, and condition management, by predicting the maintenance, by predicting the mission performance, you can look at the how we can maintain the machineries and assets available always for the productivity. So leveraging the asset investment to the higher ranking help the organization to increase the productivity and increase the sales and revenue, right? And finally, once we all achieve that, there is a autonomous robotics coming into picture, where you can, with the help of all these predictions, the machine can take this decision by itself with the help of AI, and that can automate the process. The machine understand how it's performing, the machine understand how it has to perform, and machine can align itself with the help of robotics and automation process. So that's the ultimate goal of our organization, to go into that, right? And this is a journey that has to go from level 1 to level 5. The more and more we process this model, right, the level of maturity on the organization increase. The maturity of the manufacturing setup is increasing from level 1 to level 5. So when the more we adopt the technology in more uniform way, that maturity of the organization also increasing it, and that's result in better performing organization. And that's the goal of business, right? Every business owner wants to be top on the market, right? And this is how it has to be achieved. So in terms of the recommendation, we are as we are talking to many different manufacturer and different set of industries, and we understand the pain points. We repeatedly getting the similar kind of session, and one of the reason why we are hosting this webinar as well, based on our what we are hearing and what we are learning, and then that's what is driving us to conduct this session, to give spread our ideas to the manufacturing community. So we definitely recommend a progressive implementation methodology as we go with the digitalization, and we are approaching it We go step by step, and we need to go drive the value step by step and measure the output of each step, as we have seen the roadmap, right? From the connecting to that data collection, then data metrics and basic analytics, then advanced analytics with the help of ML, machine learning process, then going into the more autonomous process, and go pi by pi, right? Take adoption, digital adoption has to be go pi by pi. You need to take a smaller piece of pie and then eat it, and then you need to go to the next pie. You have to go pi by pi. You cannot go like a full size of implementation, and that's our recommendation on this. um, Before we go further, so just a quick introduction who we are, and if you are not familiar with us, Factana and our products, we are a industrial IoT and automation software solution provider, and we are working based on the principle of industrial IoT, and focusing more on the industry 4.0 and digitalization. Our products portfolios, we have the foundation of Fogwing IoT platform, which is a core of ours, and that comes with Analytics Studio as inbuilt. And also we have the manufacturing intelligence system, especially for the industry 4.0 and the digitalization aspect of that. We can help the customer to take to the maturity level 3 with help of our systems, and then from there we can drive the helper customer to the level 4 and 5. So we can help the customer to take to level 5 quickly, rapidly, as per our methodology, as per our product and technology capabilities. But the question that might come to your mind on how we are going to solve this problem, right? And what we provide to solve this problem. So we are solving the problem, as we have seen that the characteristic of industrial IoT platform. We are solving this problem in a two different aspect of that, and taking our customer to the level 3 with at the same time pi by pi, right? So we are providing a hub. Our cloud-based platform is a cloud-based platform, and where our data, all the data are centrally collected. But at the same time, we also talked about the integration challenges on the machineries, right? Is to solve the machineries challenges. That the machineries cannot directly connect to the cloud, and we need to solve that problem with and through, of course, even if you are using IoT devices and routers, still we need to connect to those different set of machineries, and the data has to be collected. And some concerns on that, right, in terms of whether should we take all the data to the cloud, or should we take them only the mature data to the cloud. And if the customer interested to take the mature data to the cloud and minimize the cloud presence and maximize the on-premise control on that. And of course, we have two different buckets. We have a hub, and we can also provide a similar hub or miniature version of the Fogwing platform as edge on the edge servers. Our edge services are containers, so we can take it to any machines, and then we can configure that to make it run, and that can connect with the different system through our gateways, the gateways that we supporting and providing that. Our edge servers can connect to the gateways that we are supporting it, and those gateways will help to connect to these different protocols, different systems to collect it, either to collect it from sensor or collect it from the from the machineries. And of course, we have three different digital visuals aspect of that. One is the portal for managing the overall IoT platform. We also provide analytics on the data, so that's taking you to the step 2. We also provide operational metrics with the help of our S Factories OE software, and that helps you to take to the level 3 quickly and rapidly. And that's how we solve the problem. And we are going after to the 4th level, and we are planning to introduce further intelligence on as part of our core product and solutions. With that, that's all from my side. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Hari. A great session. Thanks for giving us deeper insight on IT OT integration and achieve digital transformation. So, guys, you can see there's a special bundle offer that we are providing on the S-Factrix software solution. This all-in-one package include one IoT gateway subscription for up to 5 assets, and we will be also providing support for the implementation. And if you're interested, please reach out to us at sales@factana.com. So we can move on to the QA session now. So guys, those who have questions, please, this is the time to ask. And I see a couple of questions that we already have. So I'll just start with that, Hari.
Mhm.
So can a single IoT solution provider provide all the IT OT integration solutions for a manufacturing company? Or do we need a group of vendors working in a tandem to solve all the problems?
Oh, that's a great question. It depends upon what kind of product that you are selecting and how those machineries are implemented. The challenge is, sometimes the challenge is that the existing machineries and the controllers or PLC SCADA system that you have implemented by vendor, that might be locked by the vendor, as we have seen that in multiple places. This has been locked by the vendor, and so those devices or machines doesn't provide the data. Even if you have a world best IoT platform, still if the device is not or the machine is not providing the data and the port is not open, you cannot address that. So you still need to work with that vendor who has implemented that. If it is a new implementation and you are automating your process, then you definitely need to consider all the connection points and how the data can be extracted, and that helps to solve. So to answer your question, it depends upon the your manufacturing setup and the level of systems that you have, and how that can provide the data to the platform. As long as if the platform can connect to your systems and protocols, let's take your devices or machines can provide let's take Modbus, right? Modbus output, and then the connectors that you're using or the gateway that you're using, IoT gateway, that should support Modbus to pull the data out. So it depends upon the cases, it depends upon the machines and the protocol supported by the machines, and how the platform is supporting to pull that out. Very good question.
Yeah. Thank you, Hari. So there's one more question. Should we go for vendor agnostic solutions or proprietary solutions?
Definitely yes. This is one of the best recommendation at the machine level, because only the challenge here is on the machine level. The most of the challenges are in the machine level. So when we are going to machine level and trying to implement a proprietary or Wagner vendor specific machineries, controllers that produce the data in non-standard, then it is going to be a challenge for achieving the digitalization, right? So, and that's how that's where you have to go with, maybe it's the best way to move forward is with the OPC UA kind of a protocol, which is a common standard that helps to exchange the data with any systems on the protocol model. So if you are implementing a new system, and you definitely need to check that out, whether that particular system has a OPC UA interfaces, so that any cloud system or any on-premise edge servers like we are providing, right, and that can connect to the machine to pull the data out and then deliver to wherever it has to be delivered.
Thank you, Hari. Hari, one more question. What will be the solution if existing manufacturing infrastructure doesn't have IT-driven operational system?
So there are two ways to handle it. So if you don't have the programmable machineries, like if you have a built or some kind of a boilers doesn't have any port, any controlling programs to deliver the data, you may have to go for sensors. You need to fit additional sensors in a different checkpoints where you want to collect the data, and that sensors will produce the data for the cloud IoT platform to collect the data and process it. If you already have a system that has the programming and that can produce some level of data, regardless of the format, you can go with the gateway, connect to the gateway and pull the data out and process the data either at the gateway level, IoT gateway or device level, or at the cloud level. So either way you can process it.
Thank you, Hari. Next question. How long does it take to implement IoT solution for a small company?
Um, Smaller companies, it depends on the number of systems. Let's take, you have 5 assets, you have 5 missions, and also, of course, what you want to do, right? IoT platform is only a platform, right? It provides you to get a connectivity and process the data. But what you are going to do with the data is also, you should consider it, right? And what you're going to with the data, and how you are going to use the data, right? And you need to consider that also as part of that. So if you're asking a timeline for that, it depends upon what you want to do that with the data. Connecting to the assets and then getting let's take as a sample example. If you have a machineries that can give an output, 5 assets, you have 5 assets that can produce output in Modbus, and collecting the data from that and then showing analytics, it probably take 12 to 15 weeks time, depends upon the challenges there, maximum. It also depends on how you are implementing, and other physical challenges on the place where we are installing, configuring the hardware components such as routers, IoT routers.
Thank you, Hari. There's another question. What is the most common challenge during integration of IT and OT?
The most common challenge is communication with the protocols that being followed at the machine level. Every machine may have a different protocols, and how do we configure that and collect the data? If we solve that problem, then I think the rest of things like processing the data in the cloud are all lot of technologies available, and most of them are common, right? So the most important thing challenge area is how do we connect our IoT gateway routers to the machineries on the protocol supported by the machines, and how do we formatting those data into the data standard that we defined at the corporate level.
Thank you, Hari. One more question. Should we go for edge level processing or cloud level processing?
You have to go for both. um, there is a reason behind that. So edge level processing help you to solve larger data problems, especially manufacturing sectors, manufacturing or mass industrial production setup. The data, plenty of data will be generated. If you try to collect the data at the at the machine running speed, you will be generating plenty and plenty of data, like a terabit of data, and you don't want to take all the data to the cloud and processing it. Of course, you have to pay to the cloud vendor to for all the data storage. Of course, all this data is purpose of the data, right? All are small packets, and those packets, when you collecting those data, consolidating it, then only you will have a meaningful insight on that, right? So of course that process can be done at the edge level. Once you solve that problem at the edge level and you collect the millions of data and you process it, you identify the metrics out of that. Maybe you can just send the metrics alone to the cloud, and then from the cloud that can be distributed to the users in the digital systems, like they may be using a mobile or tablet, and they may be in a remote place traveling, salespeople may be traveling somewhere, and they still need access, right? And they need a data visibility, right? And of course, without cloud you cannot deliver that. You need to go through the cloud to host your mobile services on the cloud, and you need to deliver it. Of course it is required cloud as well.
Thank you, Hari. There's one more question. What are the risks involved after IT OT integration?
Oh, the risk after IT/OT integration. Okay, so if you're not planning very well and executing IT/OT integration with a smaller scope of area, like I wanted to connect to this machine and get the data, then that's it. Another person will invest in time and effort and building another machine and doing that. Then it become more repeated investment, and also it doesn't give a uniformity across organization. It's better to handle it holistically. And if you're not handling that holistically, the risk is that you will be investing more time and effort in collecting the data and processing the data, and still that doesn't serve the corporate purpose or the overall objective of the business purpose. Still the data are silos, right, if you're trying to do that. So the risk is that you need to have a proper way to do that. If you're not doing that, it's a risk of investment.
Thank you, Hari. Guys, we are coming closer to the end of the session. So those who have questions, please ask the questions right now.
If no other question, we can wind up. I think we are above the time.
Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. Again, a recorded version of this webinar will be available on our Factana YouTube channel, and you can take a look at that. We'll be connecting with you next month. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining this call, and I hope you will be. If you want to listen this conversation again, as Abhishek said, you can watch in our YouTube channel. If you are interested to get more and more videos like this, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and where you will keep posting more and more videos, training, tutorials, all the stuff. And thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in next webinar.